What's up, guys? My name is Destaney and I am co-founder of Better AMS, and I wanted to put together a 2020 Amazon advertising high-level walkthrough. Now, we are only, 8 months into this year, and not only has everything externally been crazy, everything on the platform has been crazy as well. So I thought it'd be a good chance to just put together a basic walkthrough on where we are at. So the first thing I wanted to start with is Campaign Manager. So you click into a campaign, this is the screen that you get. So you have the opportunity to run sponsored products, sponsored brands, or sponsored display. Now, you only have the ability to run sponsored brands or sponsored display if you have brand registry. They're a little bit more of a creative ad type, and we're going to dive into some of those specifics later, but this is what you're faced with. Which one of these three do you want to run? Now, I put together a document that we're kind of going to be able to walk through as we go through this video, and I'm also going to provide it in a link with this YouTube video. But the biggest things I wanted to cover is the high level stuff. All the stuff that you hear us throwing around, the different nomenclature, the different ad types, but you haven't quite put together. So on the platform, you type in a search term. Let's stick with meal replacement. Now, the first thing you see on page 1 is sponsored ads. So this ad type right here is a sponsored brand headline ad. So you need brand registry, as I mentioned, but you have the ability to write copy. You have the ability to drive to different landing pages. Your logo goes there, and it is at the top of search for almost every single keyword. This is a sponsored brand ad. So as you scroll down, you see 4 sponsored product placements here. Now, sponsored products can be ran by anyone in almost any category. There's some restrictions there, but sponsored product ads, one, make up the most inventory because there's hundreds of them all over the place. And they are one of the best ad types to run just because they look like an organic listing. So when a consumer is searching, it looks just like the rest of the listings, but it's sponsored. Now, what's really cool about these is we're able to influence the placements. We can get pretty cool and creative targeting with them. But at its core, they look pretty organic. There's 4 of them at the top of search. And then as you scroll through the page, you'll see even more. So that's why we typically say sponsored product ads usually make up around 70% of your advertising sales, give or take. But it has more ad inventory than anything else. So sponsored products show up throughout page 1 within search. Sponsored brands typically show up at the top of the page. Now, this actually brings us to our next ad type, which is a sponsored brands video. So it's exactly what we're looking at here. It's just a video and search ad. It's ran through sponsored brands. You do need brand registry. Now, if we keep scrolling, we're probably going to come across a few more sponsored product ads because, again, they make up the majority of the sponsored placements. But as we get to the bottom of our page, we're going to see brands related to your search. Now, a good indicator of what kind of ad type this is the fact that it says brands. It is a sponsored brand ad. And then another thing that's always really beneficial, if you click on the landing page and it drives to a store page, it's going to be a sponsored brand ad as for right now. So sponsored brand ads can drive to store pages and or landing pages, which we'll also walk through in a little bit. Now, some of these ads you will also see throughout the page. They're either a sponsored display ad or a DSP ad. Now, we've seen some crossover with ad types here, but in general, sponsored display on platform, and then there is sponsored display off platform, which we'll talk about. And then you'll see some of these really cool creative ads. None of them are showing up on this page. But there are other ads called DSP ads that show up and they have the most creative control. So this looks like a sponsored display ad. I don't have any pulled up, but a DSP ad is a whole different platform. So if you hear people throwing around DSP, it stands for demand side platform. It is more of a traditional display ad type. So that's a whole different discussion to have. We're only focusing on platform right now, but more on-platform ads also show up within the product detail page. So we're on a product page right here and we see more ads. So these are typically sponsored display ads as well. Show up directly below the buy box, directly below the bullet points. And then right here we see more branded ads, and this is actually brands related to this category. It has brands in it, which is a high indicator it's a sponsored brand ad, and it is. And then as we scroll a little bit lower, we see more sponsored product ads. So we have 9 sponsored product ads just with 4 stars and above. We scroll down, we see more sponsored products. There's 94. So when I joke about all of the possible sponsored product placements, this is what I'm talking about. A quick question we always get is, will my sponsored product ads compete? No, more than likely they're not. Why? Because there's over 100 different sponsored product placements. 2 of your ASINs are not competing for the exact same placement. So that's kind of our philosophy behind that. But in general, I really just wanted to walk through what the ad types are on platform. So again, typically sponsored display right here, sponsored brands right here. These are all sponsored products. And then same thing when we went to that main page, sponsored brands, sponsored products. So as we're kind of scrolling through this doc, I provided these exact examples for you to check out when you look at the doc specifically. But the biggest call outs here is for these ad types, there's no minimum in spend. So you can start small, start with a $1, $2, $3 a day budget if need be. It's a great way to dip your toes in. And the best thing about Amazon ads is it's a great way to drive people to exactly what your product is. So at its core, all of our ad types here are either keyword targeting or product targeting. So the easiest and simplest way to explain these is keyword targeting is literally the keywords or search terms a consumer is typing in that's going to lead them to your page. So if you sell meal replacement, this is going to be what you're going to want to bid on because then your ad's going to show up right here. Now, if I sell a calculator, am I going to want to bid on meal replacement? No. Consumers looking for meal replacement probably are not going to purchase my calculator. So when it comes to the keywords you're targeting, don't overcomplicate it. You really need to have the common sense to kind of know what different consumers are looking for. Now, there is opportunity to bid on all of these long tail keywords, which are exactly what our products are still. Meal replacement protein powder, meal replacement shakes for women, things like that are going to be really relevant. So that's where keyword research matters, and that's going to be a topic for another time. But at its core, keyword targeting is just putting your mind in your consumer and thinking of what keywords are going to drive them to my listing. Now, the other type of targeting we do have available is product targeting. So product targeting is finding all of your competitor products that have a similar product to you and targeting them. So we have product targeting in sponsored products, in sponsored brands, and in sponsored display. So it's different targeting that's going to influence different placements. Product targeting sponsored display here, product targeting sponsored products here with some crossover. Product targeting sponsored brands can show up here. So the easiest way to differentiate them is, product targeting is probably going to show up in the product detail page, but not always. Keyword targeting is probably going to show up within search, but not always. It's just the easiest way to keep that simple when you're logging into your campaign manager and you go to create a campaign. Now, as we move down this list, there's a few other things to kind of walk through. So again, I mentioned sponsored products typically makes up 70% of your advertising sales. Why? Because there's over 100 different sponsored product placements. So there's a lot of opportunity, which means competition is diversified. When you only have one headline on page 1 and then a couple headlines at the bottom of page 1, it gets a little bit more competitive because every single person's bidding on that placement. And as you guys know, Amazon advertising is an auction model. So whoever's bidding the most, and of course, relevancy is weighted into that, but typically whoever's bidding the most is going to win those placements. So that's why your most competitive keywords, your most competitive placements are going to be a little bit more expensive. So sponsored products, typically 70% of your ad sales. Now, a key call out with sponsored products as well is you do have auto campaigns. So auto campaigns are basically where you're letting Amazon optimize for you. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Their AI does a pretty decent job. We run auto campaigns for every single product. But if you're starting an auto campaign without a lot of data, it's probably not going to perform that well up front because it's going to be trial and error. Amazon's going to show your ad in all of these different placements we just walked through that are sponsored products, and it's going to figure out what's converting best and optimize for that. So when people run auto campaigns and they're like, they're not performing well, so I stopped and I'm never running them, Amazon's just taking my money. That's not necessarily accurate. It just takes time for an auto campaign to figure out where converting best and optimize for that. So auto campaigns, absolutely fantastic. It's a great way to collect keywords. Just know that typically takes time. Now, manual campaigns are exactly what we've been talking about. It's where you can upload a list of specific keywords to target, as well as upload a list of specific products to target. So manual campaigns, absolutely incredible. There's a lot of different strategies you can run there. Highly, highly recommend them so you have direct control over where your ads are showing. With an auto campaign, we don't have a ton of control. We can adjust the targeting because there's 4 different targeting types within an auto campaign: close match, loose match, complementary match, and substitutes. And if you go within Amazon, you can get more details on within those targeting types. And then you have the ability to control your bid within an auto campaign. Manual campaigns, we have the ability to control our keywords we're targeting, the products we're targeting, the categories we're targeting, the bid with those, the placements within those, things like that. So manual campaigns are basically a sniper approach. You're targeting exactly what you want. Auto campaigns are kind of a shotgun approach. You're just throwing a bunch of stuff up and Amazon's figuring out what's working best and optimizing for that. Within sponsored products, you also have the ability to target both keywords and categories and products. Now, when I talk about product targeting, that is the button you will click within a sponsored product campaign to run product targeting. After clicking product targeting, Amazon's going to give you the option to click a category or specific products. Just know if you're choosing a category, it's a broader approach because, within meal replacement, maybe there is meal replacement bars, which aren't exactly relevant to my meal replacement shake. So it's a broader approach because yes, it is technically meal replacement. It's within the meal replacement category, but maybe I only want to target consumers looking for a shake rather than a bar. So keep that in mind if you start with category targeting. It's a little bit more up the funnel, so it's going to be a broader approach. Now, within sponsored brands. So again, sponsored brands requires brand registry. Typically shows up at the top of the search, bottom of the search, or within the product detail page. Sponsored brands is where things get much more complex because we have creative control. We have the ability to upload copy. We have the ability to choose the landing page our consumers are driven to. So as a quick example, if I click on this sponsored product placement, it's going to take me to the product detail page every single time. But if I click on one of these sponsored brand ads, it can take me to the store page, or it can take me to a landing page with just my list of ASINs. So when you're launching a sponsored brand ads, that's 2 things to keep in mind. I will make a video on the best way to launch sponsored brand ads later, but keeping this high level, we have the ability to drive to multiple landing pages. We have the ability to write copy. We have the ability to upload a custom imagery. As you will see here, this headline ad has custom imagery that we can't get on any other ad type. This is called custom image beta. And then we also have the ability to run video ads, which we walked through an example earlier. And we have the ability to, again, here's your video ad, what it looks like. It's a single ASIN. But within sponsor brands, we also have the ability to run product targeting and or category targeting. But this ad type does not have auto targeting. It's only manual, and it's, category, product, or keyword, and or video and search. And video and search is still just a keyword model. Now, with these 2 ad types, sponsored products and sponsored brands, one of the most important things you can do is have good bid management. This is another topic for another time, but when people come to me with optimization questions, they're like, why is my keywords not so expensive? Why is my CPC so high? Why am I not profitable on my most relevant keyword? The number 1 answer almost every single time is you do not have the right bid. So you don't always have to bid the exact highest to win an auction, because when your competitors run out of budget, that bid decreases. So if it tells you your suggested bid is $3 and you're spending $3 on a highly relevant keyword and you're not profitable, lower your bid. you're typically still going to get impressions, but you're going to get them at a cheaper cost per click. So bid management, sponsor products, sponsor brands, the number one most important thing you can do, along with having good keywords that you're targeting. So just had to throw that out there. Now, as we dive into our third ad type, sponsored display. Sponsored display is a little bit more unique. It's newer to sellers. It's actually been rolled out for vendors for quite some time, but we now have more targeting types, and a few of these targeting types actually are on a cost per impression model versus sponsor products and sponsor brands, which is on a cost per click model, which means you only pay when a consumer clicks on your ad. So there's got to be some type of interest if they're clicking on your ad. But with some of the sponsored display ad types, you'll see that they are on a CPM model. These are also ad types that go off platform occasionally, depending on what kind of targeting you're looking at. So when I talk about sponsored display, I view this as a more complex ad type than the other two. The other two, keyword targeting, product targeting directly on the page. Sponsored display, we are moving up the funnel. We are looking at more traditional display marketing. All in all, sponsored display, fantastic ad type. I love it. But it's typically only going to drive around 10 to 15% of your total advertising sales, again, due to inventory. It typically only shows up on the product detail page or on the very bottom of search again. This sponsored display ad, this sponsored display ad, and then we may have a few that show up kind of at the bottom of the page. Hey, this is a DSP ad example, finally. It's much more creative. But all in all, sponsored display has like 5 to 6 placements, sponsor brands, 7 to 8 placements, sponsor products over 100. So that's why we break out into these percentages. But sponsored display can start out bottom of the funnel. Within sponsored display, you have the ability to target products, which is just like we mentioned in the other ad types, very purchase intent, bottom of the funnel, CPC based. We have the ability to target categories, again, broadening that approach. We have the ability to target searches, views, and purchases, which are all moving up the funnel. A quick call out, within sponsored display, you do have the ability to target purchases, which means any consumer who purchased your product in the past, you can remarket. So if you have an item that's, a replenishable, like deodorant, people buy that frequently, it's a great opportunity to remarket someone who's already purchased your product. Everything else with this targeting type, again, bid management is what's most important. Targeting the most proper products is the most important, and knowing that you're moving up the funnel as you target category searches, views, and purchases. Now, other than that, we just have a few other small calls, which we've kind of touched on. Auto campaigns versus manual campaigns, much more in-depth callouts here if you want to check out this sheet. 2 primary targeting types, keyword targeting versus product targeting. The one other thing I will also touch on is the different types of keyword match types. So I kind of discussed meal replacement as our example. Let's say I have a meal replacement product. I want anyone typing in meal replacement to see my product. So I'm going to bid on meal replacement. Now, there's 3 different keyword match types. So I can bid on meal replacement exact, meal replacement phrase, or meal replacement broad. And as you can see, there's differentiation between these. If I only want to show up for meal replacement and nothing else, I will bid on it an exact match. Now, it can include misspellings, singulars, or plurals, as you see. But what it's going to show on is meal replacement. So I know exactly what I'm getting. Now, this ad type typically performs the best in terms of ACOS wise because we are only showing up for meal replacement. But the other match types can get more impressions, and that is because they show up for more kind of keywords, more searches. So if I do meal replacement phrase, then I could also show up for meal replacement women, meal replacement men, chocolate meal replacement, anything that includes that phrase. We bid on these as well, every single match type we run, because if we're bidding on phrase, those are still really relevant. So we want to make sure we're getting impressions for that. Meal replacement broad. Now this is, again, moving up the funnel, much broader approach. We're going to show up for anything that's basically similar. So in the example here, we bid on baby towel broad, we showed up for baby bathtub. So it takes one of the core words and basically pulls the data with that. So with broad, it's typically one of the least profitable keyword match types that you can bid on, but it's giving you a lot of data. So maybe people are typing in something specifically like meal weight loss, and we're converting really well on it. We're going to be able to see that data in the search term report. So that's why I recommend running in broad and phrase. You can make them more profitable with good bid management, but always recommend running in all match types because they're giving you different placements and allowing you to collect data much quicker than anything else you can be doing. So recommend running in all three match types. And other than that, that's pretty much the basics of Amazon Advertising 2020. So we sponsor products, sponsor brands, sponsor display, keyword targeting, product targeting, manual targeting, auto targeting. We have cool shiny things like custom image beta, store spotlight mobile. We can drive to a landing page versus a store page. We can run video ads. But at its core, these are the ad types you're looking at, and this is kind of the Pareto principle of what's going to drive the most value for you. Now, I do have some quick tips for starting your first campaigns, which we'll probably do a full walkthrough on starting a campaign at some point. But in general, we recommend starting with sponsored products, easiest ad type to dip your toes in. We recommend starting with low bids and low budgets. Everything you do on Amazon advertising is going to allow you to make data-based decisions. They are, pretty transparent with clicks, sales, impressions, things like that. So it doesn't hurt to start small. You can start small and optimize as you go. If you start with a 10-cent bid and don't get any impressions, then just increase your bid. Maybe test 20 cents, see if you get impressions, 30 cents, move your way up. If you have 10 clicks and no orders, don't stress out. That's actually a pretty small data set. We typically don't make any bid optimizations until we have 8 to 10 clicks internally within our own agency. Now, when it's your own brand and your own product, it can be hard to continue to test because you're going to want to make emotional decisions, but don't. Everything you do on Amazon, you can make a data-based decision by when it comes to advertising. Other quick tips, let your campaigns run for around 48 hours before making any crazy adjustments. So Amazon has an attribution delay, which means if a consumer clicks on your ad today, there's a high possibility they don't purchase for 1, 2, 3 days. So Amazon's not going to give you all of that data until they know for a fact, someone clicked on your ad and purchased. So we typically see data change quite heavily after like 48 hours. It becomes more accurate. Now, if you launch a campaign today with really high bids and you get 70 clicks and no orders and you spend a lot of money, I would go ahead and make an optimization because you have enough data. But in general, wait a few days before making any crazy adjustments. Other big things, just kind of some rules. Increasing your bid can increase your impressions, which can increase your clicks. It could also increase your ACOS because it's more expensive to pay for those clicks. Lowering your bid will do the inverse. Increasing your budget can increase your impressions and clicks if you're running out of budget. And then understand the differentiation between CPC and bid. So I get this question pretty often. It's like, my CPC is way too high. What do I do? All you have to do is lower your bid. So your CPC is your cost per click. Your bid is what you are actually bidding within the auction. So if I'm bidding $1, my CPC should not be higher than that unless I have any weird rules or I'm allowing Amazon to optimize my bids. Your CPC should typically be close to what your bid is, depending on if you made any adjustments. But if you have a high CPC and you're really competitive, just lower your bid. That's kind of your number one way to be profitable. So we'll also dive into bid management later on. But again, overview video, high level. Once you start picking up on some of these correlations, you can start expanding your targeting. You can add additional match types, increase your budgets, increase your bids, add new keywords. Basically, once you start understanding the foundation and how everything relates and correlates within Amazon advertising, you can focus on scaling because there's a lot you can do to scale. Why do we recommend test small, start small, test small? Here's a quick scenario you guys can read through if you're really interested. But again, in general, Amazon gives us the data to start small. We don't have a minimum of $5,000 a day or anything crazy like that. So you can always work your way up once you start collecting data. And yeah, so I believe that is everything with Amazon Advertising 2020 Basics. Again, high-level walkthrough. I wanted everyone to become more familiar with what the ad types look like on the platform, what it looks like within the dashboard, as well as provide just some quick tips for starting your campaigns. So I'm assuming we will have a multi-part series to follow up on this, and we're probably going to dive into bid management optimization, auto campaigns tips and tricks, manual campaigns tips and tricks, keyword research recommendations, sponsored brand scaling and recommendations, how to set up your headline search ads, how to write the copy, creatives, things like that. But all in all, I would say this is probably the highest level overview we could do on Amazon advertising. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I will hopefully be able to get back with you, maybe even do a full video to help some others in the audience. And if you guys are interested in this type of thing, we're going to be posting much more content on this channel. So definitely please feel free to subscribe, send it to anyone who you think that this can be beneficial for. And again, if you have any questions from this video, or if you want me to dive in and cover any topics, please comment them or send me an email and I will try to get them up and running. Our whole goal in this channel is to be as transparent and insightful as possible. We want everyone to be able to have lower ACOSs and more scalability with their Amazon advertising. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much. And I will also be dropping the link to this document. So if anyone wants to read over things a little bit more, maybe that's more of your learning style, I'll definitely be adding it. So again, thank you guys so much, and hopefully everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. See you guys.